everyone. I'm Molly, the Kush RN, and you've reached Conversations with Kush podcast. Tonight, I have a really great friend joining me, Mr. Jesse Christianson, doctor, otherwise known as Dr. Merce.
Hello.
Cannabis DNP Therapeutics. So thank you, Jesse, for being here.
Thanks for having me. This is my first podcast.
Wow. Okay. I like it. We broke the seal, right?
It's
Many more to come. So we met last year in Madison at HempFest, and I was just really blown away by your energy and your enthusiasm for cannabis, and I'm happy and excited to see another cannabis nurse doing the Lord's work, essentially.
Yeah. It's great. That was a fun experience.
It was a fun experience, and right in your backyard there, you live in Madison, is that right?
That's correct.
Okay, so tell me about yourself and how you got into cannabis, what type of background you have, what training and whatnot.
Okay. Well, yeah, I've been a nurse since 2016.
Okay.
I was not always in this field. I had multiple other careers prior to getting into the medical field, but I was kind of pushed into it. And I'm glad that it worked out this way. I've always been fascinated with cannabis in and of itself. But it wasn't until I actually got into graduate school that I got to learn more of the therapeutic application, and I also got to learn more about the evidence behind it. So in graduate school at UW, almost every semester for one class a semester, we had to do some type of research project. We had to do some type of group project. And every project that I was on, the emphasis was cannabis. Whether it was cannabis and pain, whether it was cannabis and opioid use in states with legal cannabis programs. It was always something based in cannabis. And then towards the end of our graduate studies, we had to do a project. It was about a year long. And nothing really stuck out for me, like people doing catheter issues or cardiac caths or stuff like that. But none of that really kind of made me want to research anything. And I was like, I'm just going to do something cannabis based.
Yeah.
That was always my spiel. I knew that there was a huge gap in knowledge, especially here in Madison. And what better way to kind of give back to the community? People are already trying to use different cannabinoid products, but they didn't really understand the pros, the cons of using certain products. And I was like, this fits me. I love interacting with people. I love science. I love pharmacokinetics and dynamics. I love everything about it. And it's just a topic that I like to excel in. So I still read. I'm still, yeah, well, I appreciate you. And so at first, the project was shunned, I'm sure you can imagine. There's a huge there's a lot of concern behind cannabis in itself. It's a boogeyman. And throughout my project, I was actually asked to come to the Wisconsin Nurses Association APRN conference at the Monona Terrace and give an hour-long lecture. And I had more people in that lecture than any other conference. And it was the first one right after a lunch period, and everybody stayed awake. So it was absolutely wonderful. I packed a lot of information in that hour. I had some old professors in there. I had some old clinical professors in there, and it was terrifying, but it was fun.
Yeah, that is a tough spot to be in, that lunch spot, that right after lunch.
I never knew that. So I come in, everybody's eating lunch, and then it's like, oh, you're up next. I'm like, yeah, I'll be in that big room over there.
Yeah. So that's a really interesting challenge that you face then. So you are at a traditional school, you're at UW Madison, and you've got this great interest in cannabis, and hopefully you'll tell me more about that later, whether kind of where that stemmed from. And you're talking about this boogeyman taboo subject, and you've got all these people captivated, right? They all want to hear about you and what you have to say about cannabis. So talk a little bit about those origin stories. Like, you've talked somewhat about like noticing the gap in education, and what were some of the questions you were getting?
I know that I've had to defend myself pretty frequently, especially against those that are substance abuse professionals.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, that was a huge, conversation that was had. Is I was calling it a medicine. They didn't consider it a medicine, so we both agreed to calling it a therapy. Hence the reason why my name is Cannabinoid Therapeutics, because
Mm-hmm.
it is a therapy. It can be used as an additive or a mono therapy. Um, some of the other questions or concerns is the whole schizophrenia topic.
Yeah.
It can cause schizophrenia, FY, and we know from documentation and different research articles that cannabis doesn't cause schizophrenia. It can be incorporated in with somebody that's diagnosed with that, but it doesn't necessarily cause it. A couple of the other concerns are, especially with the aging population, me being a gerontologist, is the falling possibility, the dizziness, falling, hitting their head, which hasn't really been proven. But and then also talking with legislators, where's the disconnect? Where are you getting your information from? How can I better help you? But at that point in time, being a student and being seen as somebody that is over here and not part of the in crowd,
Yeah.
I wasn't taken very seriously. And
Gotcha.
that's okay. That's
Yeah.
okay. Um, but having those experiences with different people allowed some form of communication, some
Yeah.
form of dialogue. And that was actually cool in itself. I got to be at the Capitol talking with senators. So that was
Yeah.
awesome.
Did they have a lot of reservations or concerns, or were they open to hearing what you talked about?
They
The,
hear it all the time. They hear it
yeah.
all the time. In my paper, in my final paper, I would talk about the cannabis topic as being a political pawn, as being a
Hmm.
toy that is put on everybody's agenda to try to get more votes. Some people are gung ho about it,
Sure.
and some people are just using it just to garnish more votes. And here in Wisconsin, I don't know how much you're following, but um, there's really no leeway there. It's even though we have a recreational market with THCA, um, nobody's really open to talking about it right now.
And you have hemp-derived products too, correct?
The THCA, yep, the hemp-derived products, which are my products as well.
Okay. Um, so no medical program, no adult rec program, just the hemp line.
For the most part, yeah, we have what I call a bathroom gin type situation. People are throwing a lot of different components together to try to get the most effect.
The
Um,
other the other thing that I think that is interesting about your market is that now, correct me if I'm wrong, I talked about this on a different show. Do you have a referendum where it's an up-down vote? If people want to get cannabis in, they just simply need to like bring that forward and they can yay or nay it. Is that
We've
correct?
already voted on it. Everybody voted yes. So I think about 77 or 88% of the people that voted yes.
Wow.
Uh, but
And
yeah, no, it's a large amount of people that wanted it in, and this I think happened in 2022.
so
Um,
is it up then to the legislation to like carry it across the line type of deal
they
or?
won't, yeah, and they won't do it. Hence
Mm,
the reason why a lot of people will put it on their agenda.
sure.
But there's really no step forward. When I was up at the Capitol, I would hear, you got to impress the old guard.
Yeah.
Uh, the old guard does not stand for cannabis
Well,
reform.
here's the other thing. You can elect a new guard.
You can try.
Maybe
It's
that,
Wisconsin.
yeah, I don't know. Maybe that can be, a point of contention and a way to rally the people. If there's 80% of people wanting this in their state, I mean, it's a simple matter of going down to the voting booth every couple of years and getting those people that say they will make this happen for you happen. So,
We got a lot of barriers here in Wisconsin, and
sure.
that's where my component of educating comes into play of figuring out where is this fear, where is
Yeah.
this is this still from the 1970s? Even though more and more people are starting to use CBD products or CBG products or THC products, where is this fear grounded? And
Sure.
we all know that when people are afraid, we act.
Yeah.
Uh, and sometimes violently, or sometimes very cautiously, and opening up that dialogue, having that conversation with somebody that is knowledgeable and also friendly. You
Yeah.
know, if you don't like it, that's great. If it doesn't work for you, that's wonderful.
Yeah.
But
But it does work for a lot of people.
It sure does. It sure
So
does.
we've heard how legislators have responded. We've heard how academia responded. What about just like your average layman, like your neighbors?
Yeah. So my neighborhood, a lot of people will consume a different type of product. I am now at farmers markets. So
Okay.
I set up a booth, kind of like what I did at Midwest Hemp Fest.
Yeah,
But now I'm doing more farmers markets, and the amount of people that come up and talk to me is absolutely wonderful.
that's great.
Wonderful. I love it. That's probably my favorite. I love selling my product. Don't get me wrong. But when it comes to talking with people and making sure that they're purchasing something that's going to benefit them or not, and then lead them in a direction or not. For instance, I had somebody that suffered from alcoholism.
Hmm.
My first question is, do you feel like this may trigger you? And
Mm.
they said, yeah, maybe. I said, I don't want you to buy my product then.
Mm.
Sobriety is more important than me selling a
Yeah.
package.
Yeah.
So being able to talk with people instead of pushing your product is such a wonderful feeling. And then everybody's enjoying the Sunday at a farmer's market.
Yeah, right.
But it's inviting, it's opening. Um, and people either love to pick my brain or they like to test me.
Yeah.
And it's great because
Yeah.
I get to, hey, I do know stuff.
Right. Are you still practicing at the bedside?
I am not. I am currently I work with a psychiatric clinic
Okay.
as on a referral basis, and I'm also interviewing with UW Ortho Pain Rehab.
Oh, that's awesome. That's a perfect place for cannabis to be.
So
So,
we're gonna find out next week whether how accepting they are.
okay, so
But I
that
work
leading me
right.
into like how is the medical community responding
Yeah.
to cannabis and
Well,
how
it's
is it
actually going
received?
pretty good. The Carbone Center at UW, I have a couple of clients there, and I get to work hand in hand with some of their primary chemotherapy MDs. With their approval, we're working with some of my taffies and also their chemotherapy medications, and it's going well.
Awesome.
I believe my credentials help me in through that door,
For sure.
and that was kind of like a chess move, and I think it's working out great. But also just the influence and the people that refer me, and then my name just continues to spread.
Exactly.
And it's great. It's
Yeah.
absolutely wonderful.
I hope that it spreads enough that other nurses catch on as well,
Yeah,
because I'm always trying to look for places where I can elevate our profession and show that we are the trusted source of knowledge on cannabis. And like, we are going to think about things like, hey, maybe cannabis might not be the right choice for someone that has a history of alcoholism. You're not
sure.
going to get that type of a question at the dispensary.
Right, right. And I talked to a lot of people at dispensaries.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, that's my hope for us going forward. So you've really positioned yourself at the intersection of like evidence-based medicine and cannabinoid therapeutics. What inspired you to take this path, and how do you see your work shaping the future of integrative healthcare?
Oh boy. Like I said, I've always been interested in cannabis, but it wasn't until grad school that I got really into therapeutics. Um, I would have to say, especially in grad school doing clinical rotations, the amount of clients that would come in for stress and anxiety or pain and sleep issues, and then we would just keep throwing them medications, or we talk about cognitive behavioral therapy, and I know we live in a time where everybody wants a quick fix, and I get that. If you look at my slogan or what underneath my logo, it's evidence-based care for a better life. I just want you to have a better life. That's it. If it's with cannabis or if it's not, whatever we can do, I just want you to have a better life. But
Yeah.
what I'm finding out is those that are suffering from stress and anxiety or sleep and pain is they don't want to wait the 6 weeks for an SSRI or an SNRI to kick in.
Right.
Some populations shouldn't have a benzo, and if you have a benzo, you shouldn't be on it long term, or an opiate is the same way. So unfortunately, my father suffered from a lot of chronic pain before he passed away, and that really pushed me into doing something more. It's like, why can't we? In healthcare, we always talk about these tools that we can use. Hey, we
Right.
can have you talk to this person. We can try this medication. We can try these couple of medications. Cannabis, in and of itself, can be used as a tool. It can be in
Exactly.
our toolbox. It
Yep.
can be used for those that would like to try it or have a history of consumption or are just intrigued and want to ask you questions.
Right.
It can be a tool. And that's what I want, is to have another resource.
Yeah.
So when I started doing this, and I would have clients that would refer to me for stress and anxiety, pain and sleep, and then getting the feedback, because I always check in like I did with you. I always check in with people. Always. I text you, my phone is always on me. When I kept getting the feedback of positive outcomes, even with people that are going through cannabis withdrawal from high concentrated pens, I knew that I'm doing something, I'm giving back. You
Yep.
know what I mean? And that's important, is to give back, especially to your community, especially to those that may not feel that they have a voice, that you're approachable.
Yeah. I
Because
think,
you're,
go ahead. I didn't mean to cut you off.
no, you're fine. You're
I think
absolutely fine.
one of the stigmas that we also have to overcome sometimes is like, well, you are out here, acting like cannabis is going to cure everything. No, I'm not. Cannabis,
Oh,
and I've heard you say it now. I've heard Trisha say it, Trisha Brown.
yeah.
Cannabis is a tool in our toolbox. We also have to do the other important work of like
Absolutely.
fixing our diets, fixing our exercise program, fixing our personal relationships, making sure we have good work life balance. Like, cannabis is just one of the aspects that helps our overall improvement and wellness, right?
Yeah.
So with the
Well,
therapeutic,
to just add to
yeah, go
that,
ahead.
I don't mean to stop you from the next question.
No,
To add to that, what is the reason why a lot of people are taking certain medication, right? They're trying to get over a barrier in their life so that they can live,
right.
right? So we can help them over that barrier. Maybe then they can confront whatever issues that they have. Let's say public speaking, right?
Yeah,
Uh, a lot of people will take a propranolol, which is a beta blocker, to help with public speaking. Well, if you do that enough times and you speak in front of enough people, eventually, you're not amped up,
right,
right? And now you're calm. And now, especially if you practice your speech multiple times, like I did at the WNA, I must have practiced that once a day for 20 days leading up to, 30 days, and then 10 days too. I practice it twice a day in front of people. The more times you do it, the more comfortable you're going to feel. But how can we get you over that hurdle?
right.
It doesn't have to be used long term, but just enough to get you over that hurdle.
Yeah, even as a transitional therapeutic.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So you're with your products, the therapeutic edibles, you focus on the safe and effective cannabinoid solutions. So walk us through your approach to like your product development and how you ensure both quality and accessibility.
Absolutely. I had a buddy actually ask me about this the other night, if I knew that I would be doing what I was doing. I told him absolutely not. Um, to 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 come up with a product, as I told you before, stress and anxiety, sleep and pain. I saw that a lot, so I wanted something that targeted those issues. Okay, so I follow a lot of research. I talk to a lot of people. I get to listen to a lot of lecturers like Ethan Russo and Tischler and Marcoux and Rickard and all these wonderful people, and Bonnie, and um, taking notes. And UW pharmacy program helped me out a lot too. And
Awesome.
all these people, and I get to take that information and I get to go to different archives and libraries, and I get to cross-reference and cross-check as to what would be the best combination for a synergistic effect for stress and anxiety and sleep and pain. And that's how I formulated my product. So not only am I using cannabinoids, I'm also using terpenes. Now, safe and effective products, safety is huge to me. I want to know that I'm giving you what I'm telling you I'm giving you,
Right.
because that's that's my ethical belief, is I have to, that's what I'm doing. No harm, do no harm.
Right.
Um,
Well,
so
especially
my,
a largely unregulated market where
oh,
you
it's so,
know?
yes, yeah. And that's where I like to shine, because I'm bringing my healthcare history in with a science backing, and I'm taking everything I've learned and I'm putting it into my products. And
Right.
that's where I want to stand out. I want to be reliable. I want to be ethically sound, and I want to make sure that you get the same response every time. My products are tested 3 times. They're tested
Right.
before, during, and after each batch. I'm using DEA grown hemp. I'm using CGMP compliant in food and safety, and good manufacturing practices. Like, I'm as safe as I can possibly make these things to be.
Right.
For critical CO2 extraction, it's just that more important to me that what I give you is what I give you.
Right. I love that. Thank you for that really important work. And as I spoke to earlier, I remember being at HempFest and, picking up like a bottle of, I don't know, Cannalene. I don't even know what they would call it, but they're like, yeah, this is 1,000 milligrams. I'm like, oh, okay.
Yeah, like
Yes,
how do
I
you
think
know that? You
it's
know?
it's important to have those like low dose access points for people that, need a small dose or microdose and even maybe even half of a microdose. So you've got just the taffy in your line, in your product line. So talk about what you have, the difference in the two.
So the sleep and pain taffy is black cherry, and it's 10 milligrams Delta 9. Um,
Hmm.
some evidence shows that low dose CBD is actually excitatory, and if I'm trying to get you calmed down and relaxed, I don't want you to be ramped up when you're trying to go to bed. The other components of that is the beta maracine, which is a sedative, the beta caryophyllene, which works on the CB2 receptors, and then the linalool, which is that calming effect or the
Nice.
lavender effect. Um, I find that they work wonderful for people that either have trouble initiating sleep. We'll start the taffy earlier, or staying asleep, and we'll do it right at bedtime. So again, timing is of importance, just
For
like you would
sure.
with medication. You want to make sure that you're taking it for the appropriate response.
Right.
Um, the other one for the anxiety and stress is the one-to-one component. It's 10 milligrams Delta 9, 10 milligrams CBD. So we find out the one-to-one is actually a more even way to kind of spread the cannabinoids
Hmm.
of the body without causing too much of a THC effect and not enough of the CBD effect. So again, they're working together. CBD being a negative allosteric modulator and THC being a partial CB1 agonist.
And
But
what that translates to for me especially is like, sometimes if I consume too much THC, I
uh,
really like to have that CBD component in there because that really just smooths it out for me. It
yeah,
away the paranoia. It
yeah,
takes away that maybe that anxious feeling that I might feel initially. So it's important to remind people that growers for one and people that are making products that we are going to need these products that are almost hybrid so that we're getting a ratio sometimes of medication because everyone is going to have their each individual needs and challenges that they'll use cannabis for. So
absolutely,
yeah,
absolutely.
thank you for
Uh,
being intentional about that.
yeah, and then on top of that, the terpene profile in that one, because like I said, I like to combat these things with many different angles. Is the D-limonene and then the linalool. So I'm trying to
Okay.
trigger the amygdala for an emotional response, and then also that lavender to help kind of calm you. They're fantastic. They're
Yeah,
fantastic.
they
And
are. I can speak to it
yeah, I
personally.
know you grabbed a couple, and you grabbed a shirt too, I believe. So thank you for doing
Yeah, I just wore my sweatshirt yesterday when I
it. Did
took
you?
my dog out to the park. I'm like, people,
Well, thank you.
yeah, of course. You are doing, like I said, you're doing really important work in a place that really needs it.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, really
I
needs it.
yeah, I'm very grateful to be doing this, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
It's fun, challenging, but rewarding at the same time.
Hmm. I touched a little bit on, how we change that stigma in our medical profession or how there is an existing stigma amongst our medical professionals. How do we how do we change that? How do we start affecting that change?
I mean, it just kind of depends. So, working with some psychiatric specialists and substance abuse specialists, there's always that no,
Yeah.
I don't want nothing to do with it because I feel this is my opinion. When I talk with these professionals, they only look at the recreational use.
Right.
They don't look at the medicinal use. Medicinal use of cannabis is small amounts, judicious, judiciously spread throughout the day, right? We're not giving you, 100 milligrams of THC one time a day. We're doing, 5 milligram, 10 milligram, depending on the person, depending on how you respond. But I feel, again, this is probably my own bias, that people are thinking about people that are smoking all day, every day.
Exactly.
And I can understand that. I can, because that's the image that you paint in your head when you think of somebody using cannabis. It's that stoner mentality.
Mm-hmm.
To change that, it takes conversation, contrasting medicinal versus recreational use, and
Yeah.
how open is the practitioner, or how open is the person that you're talking to with actually hearing you. Are
Yeah.
they willing to listen to you, or are they just going to sit there with their mind shut off?
Yeah. I make no delineation between cannabis as medicine and cannabis as adult rec because I feel like even if you're a stoner, I mean, I know some pretty successful, highly functioning stoners that
Absolutely.
weed all day long. So,
Absolutely.
you know,
Absolutely.
but I think you're right. The image, the negative connotation that exists in people's minds, and so that's what we have to get to the heart of. And it's just takes time and persistence, and continued work that we do in this space. So
I know it's been brought to my attention numerous times about the concern for the smell
mhm.
of cannabis, combusted cannabis. And,
Yeah,
what are you supposed to do about that when people walk into doctor's appointments, whatever? And I would ask them, I said, what would you say to somebody that came in smelling like cigarette smoke?
right.
What would you say to somebody that maybe doesn't have the resources to shower on a daily basis, and would come in not smelling the freshest? Like, what would you say to people like
Or
that?
or if they have alcohol on their breath.
Or if they have alcohol in their breath? And do you come at them with empathy, or is anger one of the responses that you're going to have? Like, oh, I can't believe you're coming in here smelling like that. Maybe
Hmm.
they needed it just to come to the appointment,
Exactly.
so you don't know until you talk.
Mm, I love that. Thank you. For the patients then that are seeking cannabis as an alternative or complementary therapy, in your experience, what are some of the most transformative ways that you've seen this transpire in the population that you serve?
So, like, what are some of the
Examples.
positive outcomes
Yeah, show
I've
give
seen?
some like real life examples without violating HIPAA or anything.
No, I know. I'm in my head. I'm trying to figure it out. So I've had some individuals that would rely on Z meds for sleep, uh,
Sure.
and like I said, I always check in with everybody.
Hmm.
Some people that rely on opiates daily, um, and then some people that are going through some sort of withdrawal, whether it be alcohol or whether it be cannabis.
Hmm.
And I can only speak on my products because I don't know very much about a lot of others here in Madison. But when they use my product, they've had some really good outcomes. A couple actually just happened the other day, and I couldn't be more proud.
Yeah.
So, does it work? Yes, it does. Does it work better in the right hands? Yes, it does. Does it work better if you follow up with people and titrate? Absolutely.
Right.
We know that cannabis is biphasic. We know that too much or too little will not have the outcome that you're looking for. That happens with a lot of different medications. But
Exactly.
where can we keep it safe? Well, we know that cannabis has a very wide safety profile. Okay. What other medications are they using? So these are some of the questions that I like to ask people before I start initiating the conversation. What is your past history? What medications? Um, but the people that I've worked with, it's been wonderful.
Good.
Uh, and I check in at least once a week.
Good. I'm glad because they need to hear about these positive outcomes too. and spread the word and know in their within themselves that, you know, this is working. This is one of the things that can actually help. And so I hope that in those ortho spaces, you know, I'm always surprised by like the number of people, because people come in, you know, I work in the emergency department. People come in
Yep.
and they have cancer or whatever. And I'll be like, oh, well, are you using, you know, medical cannabis? And they're like, no. And I'm like, what the hell? Like, you are the exact person that should be accessing medical cannabis, you
And
know?
they could be afraid. They could be afraid,
Yeah.
or they don't know
Yeah.
who to talk to. I know that I've had a couple of instances where they would be afraid of letting their primary know,
Mm,
especially if you're under some kind of contract. Um,
like an opioid contract, you mean?
yeah, a
Yeah.
pain contract. And, you know, what do you do with that information? And I hear this a lot too when it comes to employment. What do you do with that information? Okay, so you're dirty for cannabis. What do you do with that information? That could have been months ago. That
Right.
could have been, or not months ago, but a month ago, a couple weeks ago. Are you inebriated or under the influence right now? What does your job consist of?
Right.
What is the purpose of the testing?
Right.
Um,
I
yeah,
feel like here that is largely going away. And
yep.
do you feel like also that is going on in Wisconsin too? Like kind of going,
Depending on the job,
sure.
depending on the job. Um, I know that there's still a lot of fear. I
Mm-hmm.
know that there's a lot of fear in people that want to try for, you know, certain reasons in their life, but they're afraid of their job.
Yeah.
But I also know, especially in healthcare, that some new hirees or even in other jobs, if you come up what is considered dirty for cannabis, they don't care,
Yeah.
you know. And that's as long as you're not under the influence at work,
Right.
to the point where you can't do your job safely.
Right. So there's
That
a difference between consumption and impairment, right?
yes,
And that
yes,
is the differentiation that I think needs to be pointed out
yes.
often and regularly.
No, I agree with you. And hence the reason why we say, you know, if you're getting a new prescription, you're not supposed to drive for a while until you know how it affects you.
Yep.
Same idea.
Right.
Know how much you're taking to see how it affects you.
Exactly.
You
Yeah.
know, and it
We
all
have
just comes
to
down to
we have to counsel people, like when we even give them Benadryl, like don't
yep,
drive or operate heavy
yeah,
machinery
or
for
drink
4 hours.
alcohol. Yeah,
Yeah. So, you know, there's always those considerations that need to be taken into account. But, you know, there's considerations for people having surgery that are going to go have surgery. Are you a smoker? You know, there's a lot of things that we need to keep in the backs of our minds when it comes to cannabis. It's not for everyone. There can be adverse effects, but largely it is really, as we spoke of, a great tool for wellness and, you know, happiness and amongst other things.
better quality of life
Yeah,
sometimes.
better quality of life, homeostasis, right?
Yeah, the endocannabinoid system.
So you've already talked about kind of what a big research nerd you are.
Ah, that's fun.
What are some of like the exciting developments or changes that you hope to see in cannabis, both in the medical industries and in the retail industries?
Are we talking about me personally or just in
Yeah.
general?
Yeah, both.
Oh, well, personally, I will be expanding into Minnesota.
Okay, okay, snaps up
So
that.
I'm making 5 milligram, 50 milligram packages uh,
Perfect.
for Minnesota.
Okay,
So that's awesome.
awesome.
I love your guys' market.
Mm-hmm.
You guys have good regulations in my opinion. D9 is pretty much all you guys work with, and
Yep.
minor cannabinoids. There's none of this other stuff out there that, frankly, it kind of terrifies me.
Yeah.
So I'm very grateful that my packaging passed, my edibles passed, and
Awesome.
I look forward to coming up there in about a month, I believe. Is
Okay.
I'll be
What
so.
to shop around and see who wants to carry your products?
Nick, I believe, is going to take
Oh,
my
Nick,
first batch.
hello,
Yeah,
my
he's going to take my
buddy.
first batch. Yeah.
Okay. Oh, I love that. I love this collaboration. This is so
So when I came up
awesome.
there to see you guys,
Yeah.
We chat, I mean, because I was giving out those samples
Yeah.
and everybody was loving them. And I had to drive back to Madison. So I was there for about an hour. Then I had to drive 4 hours back.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, we talked and he loved them. And the only problem was I had to make sure that they fit Minnesota's guidelines.
Exactly.
Alicia Shaw helped me out
Yeah.
trying to figure out what I need to change.
Okay.
And then when I finally decided to pull the trigger, I reached out to Nick, and he said absolutely.
That's perfect. So you're also not just making medicine that people need, but you're supporting veterans through that process
I
too.
love that. Oh, veterans are some of my favorite patient populations. They
Yeah.
are like I will say that hands down. They are some of my favorite
Yeah.
because it's so hard. Like they got a tough outer shell. I say this to everybody. They got
Right.
a tough outer shell, but once you get in there,
Yeah.
once you break that shell, they love you and they can still be hard headed, but they will respect you and they will look at you as a friend. And then they
For
will
sure.
actually start to listen to what you have to say. It is wonderful. It is
Friend for
absolutely,
life. Friend for
yeah.
life.
Oh, it's so
Yeah.
great. It's so
Yeah.
great.
I love that. That's
So
so
yeah, when I found out about kind of his stance and his history, and so it's like I couldn't think of a better place to start in Minnesota.
yeah. So to the audience, we're referencing
Yeah,
Nick, and I'm forgetting his last name. What's his last name?
I'd have to
From the
look.
Warriors Garden in St. Paul,
Yes,
the beautiful dispensary located right there in Lower Town, near the farmers market with many Minnesota brands. And he is a supporter. He is a veteran and he's a supporter of veterans in a variety of ways. So please,
Nick Rand,
what was it?
Nick
Rand.
Ron or Nick Rand. Oh,
Yep,
yeah,
that's it.
great guy.
Ron. Yep.
Yeah, great guy.
Great guy, totally great guy. And he does a lot of things just to build his community there. I know that on Thursday nights they have an open mic night, they do a comedy night. So he's really trying to bring folks in and make sure that he's curating a community of people that can support each other. So
I
it's
love
a man, right?
that.
So great. So how about on a broader scale? What are some of the things you see kind of happening throughout the country in research and what are you excited for?
I'm excited. Well, I hope to be more excited if we're able to take cannabis from Schedule 1 to Schedule 3. I
Mhm.
would love, I know what's going on politically with research. I would love to see more research.
Mhm.
I know real world experience in cannabis isn't relied upon as much as it is with other pharmaceuticals. I would love for that to be incorporated too, but that's just, I asked that during an NIH meeting and they didn't reply. So I feel like that was kind of a mute point.
Yeah.
Um, I would love to see some regulations here in Wisconsin.
Yeah.
I would love that. I would love to be a part of that. I know
Mhm.
for my final project, I provided a senator with 2.5 pages of bullet points for a cannabis proposal. Um, whether or not that's going to go through or whether or not that's even going to be used is another question. Everything is so um, interesting right now politically.
It's a
And
nice word.
yeah, and so you just never know. But I have hope. I have hope that things will even out, and I have hope that things will become safe. And yeah, that's
Yeah.
I just on a larger, broader scale. I would just love to see more research, and I would
Mhm.
love to see better options.
Yeah. More research that are actually done on on humans. A large
Right, right,
part of the
right.
research right now is done on animals and
I yeah,
yeah, so I think as that research opens up, we'll really get to see the dynamic ways that cannabis can be helpful, and I'm
right.
all excited for that. Are you going to be at CanMed?
You have to let me when and where is that?
So June is CanMed. It's in Puerto Rico. I think
Oh,
it's
that's right.
yeah.
With Doctor
Bunch, bunch of speakers. Dr. Dustin Sulak,
yes, Sulak, Dr.
Driscoll will
Sulak.
be there. Yep. Dr.
Yes.
Bonnie Goldstein will be there.
Yeah, I know he brought that up during our last meeting.
Okay.
It sounds absolutely, I've never been out of the country.
It's still in the country. It's Puerto Rico. So
I've
technically,
never been out of the
you can.
United, like, never.
You don't
Uh,
need a passport to go there, buddy.
I know, but like just in my head, like anything, I I would love to.
Yeah.
Sounds wonderful.
We
I
got to
will
get you
work
signed up
on
for
it.
that.
What's that?
But we got to get you signed up for that.
I will work on it.
Perfect.
Yeah.
So one of the things I wanted to talk to you about, I had a really couple interesting guests come on a couple of weeks ago from New Jersey, where
Okay.
they have it's an insurance company that allows, it's like an employee benefit. So your employer can elect this program to be available to you where you get discounts on like your cannabis therapies or discounts on getting your medical card or they also do like ketamine assisted therapy and psilocybin assisted therapy too. Ket and pet they called it, or pat and cat. So this is really interesting to me. Another thing that they talked about was they have developed guidelines for the helping professionals in their city, Trenton, New Jersey, that allow them to access cannabis in a safe and healthy way. So let's say you're a police officer. The rule would be then no cannabis consumption 8 hours before your shift.
Okay.
And I just thought, this is incredible. We need these guidelines to be dispersed throughout the United States. And so, one of the things I hope that we can work on and will solidify things as far as like the legitimacy of cannabis is working on some of those guidelines for helping professionals, because who doesn't love nurses, EMTs, teachers, police officers, firefighters? We're the people that get all this trauma dumped onto us. And so cannabis, can be part of our toolbox again to navigate that and have a happy and well-adjusted life. So I need your help. Can you help me with that?
I can do my best. My question: who would enforce those rules, those guidelines, and
Well,
how would you test to make sure that
yeah. Yeah, I mean, those are all really great questions, right? And would have to be pieced out. So I just thought, I'm glad someone's thinking about this, like someone actually cares. You know what I mean? Like, I'm glad someone has given some forethought to like helping professionals being able to use cannabis. Like,
Yep.
we have this chronic post traumatic stress from COVID. Like, how many times have you heard someone's story about, I came to cannabis during COVID? I mean, I just heard it earlier today,
Yeah.
such a big part of what's happened to us. And I don't know. I just was really excited about it. And I know how excited you get about stuff. So I was like, oh, I got to get Jesse on this.
I like it. I mean, I do like it uh, because it's also more of a talking point. Like you get
Yeah.
to talk with people that are knowledgeable and safe,
Yeah,
um, and it kind of brings that into a conversation.
for sure.
So I do enjoy that. And
Yeah.
I do agree with you about those that face a lot of trauma in their 40-hour work week or however
Hmm.
many hours of work. And a lot of people will reach towards certain things. Some
Right.
of those things will get you into trouble long term, and some of those things won't. And I'm glad that some people are choosing cannabis if they're choosing some kind of substance. Some people rely
Mhm.
on exercise or, cooking themselves a good meal. If you are reaching towards some, I'm grateful that some of them are reaching towards cannabis instead of pills or alcohol. And um, that's my bias. That's my opinion.
Yeah. Here,
And
here.
yeah, that's what I
Yeah.
prefer. I much would rather talk with somebody that's under the influence of cannabis rather than something else.
Yeah, for sure.
I've unfortunately spent a lot of time in the bars, so I prefer the cannabis consumer.
The conversation's always a little bit different for sure.
It is. It's happier. It's happier.
It's a little less intense.
Yeah,
Yeah.
non-violent.
Yeah. Any final thoughts?
I'm just happy to be here. I thank you for letting me do this.
Yeah, of
And
course.
Good to see you again.
Yeah, you too. I love what you're doing. And I just need like at least 50 more of you dispersed throughout Wisconsin so that we can.
We got a lot of great people here. We
Yeah,
got a
you
lot of
do.
great people here. We got some very knowledgeable individuals here, and I'm still
Mhm.
uncovering them, or I'm finding them, or they're finding me.
Yes,
And they're hiding, but they're here.
you're right.
And the more that I promote stuff on social, the more that, I come up in random conversations. Like, I don't know what's going on behind my back. I don't know
Yeah.
what is being said or discussed, but I do know that people reach out to me.
Yeah.
I do know that my products are going well. And I do know that the feedback I'm getting from my products has been nothing but positive.
Yeah, you're
So,
right. Those people are out there, and that was very evident by HempFest. I met almost all of the vendors out there. There was some
yeah,
incredible growers that were
yes.
growing different chemovars and really being
Thank you for
intentional.
saying that word.
Yeah, being intentional about the medicine that they were growing and how it could fit into a patient's life and in therapeutic regimen. So there was, the shop owners that I spoke to really knew a lot about cannabis. I mean,
Mhm.
they were on their shit. So it
Yeah,
was very
absolutely.
good to see. And Bobby Beans from Legalized Wisconsin, he is a great advocate. And yeah, I'm rooting for you guys big time.
Thank you. Yeah, we could
Yeah.
use all the help we can get. Um, just to make things safe and to make things
Yeah.
uh, more open.
Yeah, as it stands, the market is not super, from what I've seen anyway, isn't the most supportive of the cannabis patient, the person that wants to access cannabis for as medicine, needs a lower dose or needs a small entryway into the use of cannabis. So, but that will change. We just have to keep banging that drum, right?
Yeah, and I
Yeah.
do my best to chat. Out here, there's the idea of the more the better. If
Hmm.
the package
We
says
got
a
that here
whole,
too.
if the package says 35 million milligrams of THC in there for $50, that's what they want, even though you can't really prove that that's what's in there.
Right.
But it's the packaging. It's
Right.
it's oh, it says it, so it's got to be right. I'm like, not necessarily. We don't have an oversight committee. There's no regulative body that's
Right.
checking our P's and Q's. And
Yeah.
that's why I like to stand out is I know what mine are. I trust mine. Um, it's got my stamp of approval on it. It's got my name on it. It's my baby. Like this
Yeah.
is my baby.
Yeah.
Uh,
Exactly.
so yeah, no, I'm very happy, pleased, and I'm grateful for being here with you.
Yeah. Awesome. Thanks again. Tell my audience where they can find you, Jesse.
Yeah, I'm in Madison, Wisconsin. You can find me at cannabisdnp.com. Uh,
Come to Madison.
Come to Madison. I'm here. Actually, I'm everywhere. I'm in Milwaukee. I'm in all types of places. But yes, visit me, cannabisdnp.com. You can see a little bit more about me. You can see how my products are made. You can see the locations. I got Google Maps on there for you as well. And I'll be up there in Minnesota hopefully next month to say hello. And hopefully before that, I'll be able to come up there. I'm sorry I couldn't make it this weekend.
That's okay.
Uh,
Yeah.
Something kind of popped up and this weekend got a little
Oh,
busy,
good.
but I
Yeah.
feel like I'm missing out.
Yeah, no, you're not missing. I haven't even been yet. It starts tomorrow. The today
Yeah.
was like the industry day. So we're referencing Lucky Leaf. It's a big expo that's going on in the Twin Cities this year. So today was the industry day. I'm gonna go tomorrow. I'm gonna do a bunch of interviews. So
Good,
yeah.
good. Did I tell you? Remember when I told you that I would ask them to cut down the fees if I would please help?
Yeah.
You know what? They didn't never respond to me. I said
Oh,
I'd
I'm
pick up the
shocked.
trash, I'd sweep, I would I would help set up. I'd help check out if you give me a discount so I could set up a table. Not a response.
Oh, here's what they told me. I asked them for a press pass. They're like, "Yeah, you're not actually the press." And I was like,
Oh,
"Oh,
that's fun.
okay."
That's very kind of.
I was like,
Is it
check on me next year.
is it generally pretty large? Is it a big event?
I think so. I feel like they probably had maybe like 15,000 people last year. I mean,
Okay,
there
so it's
was
pretty big.
it was a pretty large production.
Huh.
I've heard a couple of little whispers about people not really being so pleased with the production, both this year
No.
and last year. But, anybody who wants to do something better or thinks they can, go for it.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
this is your first time?
It's my second time. So last year I participated. I was part of the women's collective. So a bunch of women owned businesses got together and kind of
Cool.
anti and we all got to, highlight our own individual businesses. We were on a panel. We did a panel together. And this year, yeah, I'm just attending and doing my special interview. So
Good. Well, I hope
yeah,
this year goes better for you. I'll
thank
probably check
you.
in with you next week and see how
Yeah,
everything's going.
please do. Please let me know when you're here. Let's link.
I will
Yeah, we
definitely.
can meet up at Nick's.
Yes. Yep.
Yeah, for sure.
Can I
Okay.
tell you, after I left there that last time, you know how long
Yeah.
it took me to buy my car?
Oh my God. How long?
It was a while. It was a while. Because I left and I started walking. I could have swore I knew where I was going. Like Nick was like, "Oh yeah, just take a left, take a right, take a." I'm like, "All right, yeah, man, I got you." And I was like, "This does not look like anything." And then there's just a red. Oh my God, it was hilarious. And
How?
eventually, I found my car.
Thank
And
goodness.
if it wasn't for like Google Maps or anything to get me out of there, I would still be circling blocks.
Probably, you're right on the entrance to 94 there too. Like it's the easiest
Yeah, but where I
point.
parked, I was so like I was in the middle of nowhere.
Oh goodness.
Yeah, because they
What
were doing like Christmas stuff.
Yeah. So, audience, we're referencing an event that was held at the Warriors Garden where we invited nurses to come out and learn more about cannabis nursing. And we do anticipating having more of those events come about. So if you're a nurse or if you're in healthcare and you're interested in learning more about cannabis as medicine, please make sure you're following our pages and getting in tune with us and getting tapped into how you can become a cannabis nurse if you would like to do that, or how cannabis.
Super fun.
Yeah, it is. We had a great time. I couldn't believe the turnout. I
It
was so
was a great time.
impressed. Yeah,
Yep.
it was great.
And
So,
then you guys sent me home with a care package.
what did you get?
Oh my God, I think Alicia's husband gave me like 4 cans of his
Oh, nice.
uh
That's something. It
yeah,
was from Earl Giles, the Pifton.
yeah, 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 yeah,
Yes.
yeah,
That's
yeah. So
something we didn't talk about. Are you comfortable sharing your personal experience with cannabis and your personal
no, not
relationship? Or?
yeah, not at all. So to be honest with you, I rarely consume. I
Okay.
might maybe 3 times a year. I know I tried my stress and anxiety taffies.
Yeah.
I've tried them twice, but I did a half of one the first time, and that was too much.
Okay.
And so that lasted for about 8.5 hours. I watched 3 movies during that time. I didn't have any paranoia. I ate about 5 whole chicken sandwiches. Um, yeah, it was
You
wild.
mean to tell me that all of this is just high on life? Is that
Yeah,
what this is?
oh, yeah, and caffeine. Yeah, the caffeine. Um,
And your martial arts that you do.
and kung fu. Yeah, and kung
Yeah.
fu. I've been doing it for like 20 years. Um, but yeah, a half a piece was a lot. Um, I watched Beverly Hills Cop 1 through 3. I had a bunch of food. I couldn't feel my legs, which is great because my legs are always hurting.
You are not supposed to be telling these stories.
It's great. And then the second time I had a quarter piece, and the quarter piece was good for about 5 hours, and I felt, but there, and I had no paranoia, no anxiety, no anything like
Yeah.
that, no cotton mouth, no nothing. It was just an enjoyable experience.
Yeah. Just
Um,
goes to show you how microdosing can really be life changing.
it's wonderful. But
Yeah.
yeah, back in high school, we would, smoke weed.
Yeah. Smoke off the can,
Yeah, yeah, the pop
carve
can
an
or the gravity
apple.
bong. Yeah,
Yeah.
but that was so, and the cannabis was not the greatest back then.
No, it was like
Uh,
definitely ditchweed that gave you a headache.
oh
And
my
you
God,
could
so
hear
bad.
the seeds popping when you smoke.
Yes, yes, like popcorn. But other than that, like when I got older, but I had to try my product out so I could really tell consumers what I felt like to know what to expect.
Oh, yeah. I mean, vetting the product is the best part about being a cannabis
Yeah.
nurse. Let's face
But
it.
the flavors, you flavor them. There's no chemical aftertaste. It doesn't coat your
Yeah.
mouth. They're just absolutely wonderful. So that's kind of my history. Like it's not very extensive. it is there. I'm not like Bill Clinton. I did inhale. Um, yeah, yeah, and I'm not ashamed. Like that, it's painful.
Good. That's the best takeaway. You're not ashamed. You're not ashamed of it. Seriously, that is the best takeaway. We need to be brave. We need to be brave and
It's
talk about,
cannabis. It's
yeah,
cannabis. It's
there's
not.
no lethal dose. You know, you got to smoke a lot of weed to die from like
I mean,
600 pounds. Like it's, yeah,
yes, 15,000 milligrams.
yeah,
That was in 2022, a research article that I had used.
yeah.
And
So
750 times more than the normal intoxicating dose. So,
So there you have it, audience. If you're looking for an entry point into cannabis, reach out to my good friend Jesse here, Dr. Merce, Cannabis
oh, it's
DNP,
backwards.
both for products and for guidance. And, you know, always be looking for that trusted source in information. You know, try your best to piece that out. Don't buy your cannabis from a gas station. And yeah, if you're a medical patient, if you're on multiple different medications or you have surgery coming up, you know, you might want to reach out to a cannabis nurse. So that's it for me. This is Molly the Kush RN, and you have reached Conversations with Kush podcast. Make sure you like, share, comment, and subscribe. I'm available on YouTube and all audio platforms, as well as Facebook and Instagram. So that's it. Have a great night. Peace.
Thank you.
Peace.